Good afternoon. It is great to be back in Wisconsin. You know, the energy and the excitement we're seeing across this state is incredible. I think the men and women of Wisconsin, they're ready for a real change. They're frustrated with 7 years of the disaster that is the Obama-Clinton economy, of seeing jobs going overseas to China, to Mexico, seeing wages stagnating, seeing young people with their futures in doubt. People are ready for a change. And what we are seeing happening here in Wisconsin and all across the country is we're seeing Republicans uniting behind our campaign, coming together behind a positive, optimistic, conservative campaign focused on real solutions to the problems facing America. If I'm elected president, we will repeal every word of Obamacare. We'll pass a simple flat tax and abolish the IRS. We'll rein in the EPA and the federal regulators that are hammering small businesses and killing jobs all across this country. We'll stop amnesty, secure the borders, end sanctuary cities, and end welfare benefits for those here illegally. And the effect of all of that is that we are going to see millions upon millions of high-paying jobs coming back to America, coming back from overseas. We're going to see wages finally rising again for working Americans. We're going to see manufacturing jobs coming back to Wisconsin. And we're going to see young people coming out of school with 2, 3, 4, 5 job opportunities. That's what this election is about, bringing back growth and opportunity for the next generation. And it is why so many men and women in Wisconsin and across the country are unifying behind our campaign.
Why North Central Wisconsin? Why are you here?
This is a grassroots campaign. It is driven by the people. I think anyone who wants to be elected president owes it to the voters to stand in front of them, to answer questions, to look them in the eyes, and to ask for their support. This is a job interview. We are campaigning. We're doing a bus tour all across the state of Wisconsin. We are answering the hard questions, and we are building support one voter at a time. The strength of our campaign has always been the grassroots. And I would note one of the things that the men and women of Wisconsin deserve is a debate between the top 2 candidates. Now, Donald Trump has already skipped one debate, the Fox News debate. He said he was scared of doing that. Tomorrow, CNN has a town hall scheduled. It actually right now has 2 town halls back to back. Donald Trump and me, each of us have an hour. It's at the exact same location. The TV cameras are there, the moderators are there, the audience is there. And so I invite Donald, rather than do 2 separate town halls, let's combine it and do a 2-hour one-on-one debate. Now, in all likelihood, Donald is going to turn me down. Why? Because he's scared of actually answering questions about substance. Because while he's very good at yelling and attacking and insulting, he does not have meaningful solutions to the problems facing this country. The people of Wisconsin deserve a debate between the candidates. And anyone who wants to be president, who wants to earn the votes of the men and women in this state, owes it to the voters to be here on the ground to answer their questions and ask for their support. That's what I'm doing, and I could not be more encouraged by the energy and enthusiasm and support we're seeing.
Senator, you're with Mr. Rita today. Can we expect to see you with Governor Walker tomorrow morning?
Well, I am a big, big fan of Scott Walker's. He is a terrific governor. He is a strong conservative. And he has led this state ably and very, very effectively. Look, of course, I would welcome Scott Walker's support. Anyone would. Scott Walker's support, I think, would be tremendously important. I'll tell you, when Scott Walker led a fight against the union bosses of the public employee unions, when millions of men and women of Wisconsin rallied behind Governor Walker, it inspired people all over the country. It inspired millions and inspired me. It showed that we, the people standing together, can beat the special interest, can beat the corruption in politics that's bankrupting our kids and grandkids. What we need in Washington is more of that same courageous fight for principle that Scott Walker demonstrated here in Wisconsin. And it is that spirit, that fight is at the heart of what our campaign is all about.
Senator, you often talk about, well, we talked this morning about Nathan Deal vetoing the bill down there. But in North Carolina, we haven't talked about the legislation that was taking away the authority from local governments from passing ordinances that would allow for workplace or housing discrimination for LGBT people. Why not give local authorities that ability to pass that sort of legislation?
Well, listen, I haven't examined that particular piece of legislation in North Carolina that you're talking about, so let me not comment on legislation I haven't seen. What I will say is that religious liberty is a fundamental commitment of our country. It is the first liberty protected in the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights. And it wasn't too long ago that defending religious liberty was a bipartisan commitment, that it brought together Republicans and Democrats, that maybe we disagreed on marginal tax rates, but when it came to protecting the rights of all Americans to live according to our faith, to live according to our conscience, that Republicans and Democrats were united. Unfortunately, the modern Democratic Party has gotten so extreme, so radical, that they have decided there is no place for religious liberty when it conflicts with their partisan political interests. That's why right now the Obama administration is litigating against the Little Sisters of the Poor, a Catholic charity of nuns who cares for the poor and the elderly. What kind of world are we in now when the federal government is litigating against nuns? That doesn't make any sense. It's why I pledged on the first day as president that I will instruct every agency in the federal government that the persecution of religious liberty ends today, because it's a fundamental commitment and who we are. And one of the things that means is the case against the Little Sisters of the Poor will be dismissed.
So you were raised by a strong
lock
woman.
down more definitively this National Enquirer piece by telling us on the record that you've never been unfaithful to your wife.
But if I may.
No, I'm sorry, I asked the senator that question.
Well,
This is
I'm
great.
gonna comment, okay?
Do you have firsthand knowledge of his marriage?
I'm gonna comment. This is an example of the media playing to Donald Trump's tune. Donald Trump is a serial philanderer by his own admission. And in a week when we have had a terrorist attack in Brussels, a shooting on Capitol Hill, the President of the United States in the baseball stands with Raul Castro and insisting that he be photographed in front of a portrait of Che Guevara with the two Castro brothers, we are talking about a scurrilous, ridiculous piece of the National Enquirer. Why do you all dance to Donald Trump's tune? Let's talk about the issues, please.
Well, that's
Do you think
fine
this
too, but
highlights
Senator,
Mr.
I'm sorry,
Brennan?
this
Last
is a very
question.
serious question about your character. Will you
Last
just,
question.
if the answer is yes, I've always been faithful, but you just say so,
Sir,
please.
I recognize that you love going into the gutter with
No,
these kind. Sir,
the National Enquirer's already gone into the gutter.
Sir, I'm going to answer your
So
question.
does
Stop
your
interrupting.
public- And
Thank
your
you
so does your publication.
Stop interrupting.
Thank you.
And what is your publication, by
The
the way?
Daily Mail, the world's most read English
They have
language
chased
newspaper
my,
website.
they've chased
Can we use the
my,
last question to talk about
my
Wisconsin?
granddaughters to,
Yes.
yes, thank you.
Look, I'm going to give a very brief answer to your
Thank you.
question,
Just keep it to
which
one.
is that the National Enquirer story is complete garbage. It is total lies. It was planted by Donald Trump's henchmen, and I don't think the people of Wisconsin or the people of America have any interest in tabloid trash. I'm going to focus on the issues that matter for the American people. Go ahead.
You've been around Wisconsin the last couple
Yeah.
weeks. You know, what are you hearing from the voters? What do they want in Wisconsin? Please be specific to Wisconsin
Look,
voters.
Wisconsin voters, the message is clear and simple. They want jobs. They want wages, manufacturing jobs coming back to America. Wisconsin has seen what this country's seen. The manufacturing jobs, the blue-collar jobs that for decades formed the backbone of the American middle class, the kind of jobs that you could work and provide for your family with dignity and live an American middle-class life, those jobs have been going away, and they've been going away under the disaster that is the Obama-Clinton economic agenda. When you hammer small businesses with crushing regulations, and Obamacare is the single biggest job killer in America, when you unleash the EPA, regulators that are destroying jobs and driving manufacturing jobs overseas, when you allow 12 million people to come to this country illegally, to drive down wages, when you put in place the most crushing tax system, the effect of all of that is manufacturing jobs move to other places where they can manufacture more profitably, whether it is China, whether it is Mexico. This is the result of the failures of government policies. And the way to fix it is to turn those failures around. When we repeal Obamacare, when we rein in the EPA and the federal regulators, and when we pass my simple flat tax, we're going to see millions of jobs coming back to America, but we're also going to be talking about corporate inversions. Right now, we talk about corporate inversions when American companies move their headquarters overseas, take jobs outside of America. In a few years, it's going to be other countries talking about corporate inversions. Why are our companies moving to America? Because America will have the most welcoming environment for small businesses, for job creation, for productivity, for entrepreneurs in the world, and the effect of that will be that we'll see wages going up for everyone. That's what the people of Wisconsin want to see, is they want to see that their kids will have a brighter future than they did. That has been the American promise from the very first days of our country, and that has always been true until right now. Today is the first time that a majority of Americans have said their kids will have a worse future than they did. It's time for that to change. That's what the men and women of Wisconsin want. And I'll tell you what they also want. A strong commander-in-chief. They're tired of a politically correct president who refuses even to say the words radical Islamic terrorism, who refuses to do what is needed to keep this country safe, and who instead acts as an apologist for radical Islamic terrorists, who goes to baseball games with the Castros and defends Raul Castro, agrees with a communist dictator when he attacks America. How about having a president who defends the United States of America instead of siding with our enemies? How about having a president who doesn't send billions of dollars to the Castros to use to undermine American interest? How about having a president that doesn't send $100 billion to the Ayatollah Khamenei to be used to carry out acts of terror against Americans and to develop nuclear weapons? I think the people of Wisconsin are fed up with a commander-in-chief who refuses to do their job. And as president, my number one obligation, my number one responsibility will be to keep this country safe, to defeat radical Islamic terrorism, to utterly destroy ISIS. These are serious times, and we need a commander-in-chief who is clear-eyed and level-headed and prepared to use overwhelming air power and arming the Kurds and removing the rules of engagement that are tying the hands of our soldiers to utterly and completely destroy ISIS. That's what the men and women of Wisconsin want to see, is a real leader who's focused on protecting America instead of lecturing America, instead of attacking Americans, instead of siding with our enemies against the people of this great nation.
Ms. Farina, you occupy a position, Ms. Farina.